All right, we are going to be going for a quick drive here. First daytime drive with FSD 14.1.4. Just doing a quick brunch run here. Going to get some breakfast here and see how it does. And again, we're pulled into the garage here. Looks like there was a squirrel in my garage. That's pretty funny. I don't know if you saw that on the screen there, but he's a very curious squirrel. I was working on my car a couple days ago, and he just came like right up to me and just stared at me from like 3 feet away. So I don't know if I'm the squirrel whisperer or what, but I'll definitely give him some snacks if he keeps coming close. All right, I hit the garage door there. We have a guy in the street there with his bicycle, but he's out of our way. Good job navigating my driveway, which has a little bit of a steep curve towards the end of it. It never gets old, by the way, turning on FSD from the garage. Like, it's just one less thing I have to do now is to pull the car out, which is pretty cool. Obviously, it could be a little faster, but, you know, it will get there. So it's just kind of cool. Every time you get these major updates like this, you see these big step changes all of a sudden. And it's like, oh, I can totally see what they're working on now over the last few months with all the, you know, quiet time we got with 13.2.9 and everything, which was a great build, by the way. I think a lot of people are still that are, you know, yearning to get some version 14 love, you know, I don't think quite appreciate how good 13.2.9 was in terms of how smooth and comfortable it was. Obviously 14 has got a lot of new functionality, but it's a little less refined, and that's, you know, just how software development works, right? So they will definitely get it there over the next few builds. I'm confident of. While we're just sitting here, I'm gonna just check our parking settings out here. So there kind of is a parking lot at this diner location, but I typically prefer to park on the street, so we're gonna pick street parking. It's usually really busy, so this will be a good test to see if it can find a spot, and if it does, sometimes they're a bit cramped, so we'll have to see kind of how 14 handles this one. All right, we do have like a dead squirrel or something in our lane of travel here. Let's see if it avoids it. It is gonna... It did miss it, I think, barely. All right, so after reviewing the footage closer and zooming in on the instrument display, the car did properly detect the roadkill and actually adjusted the path accordingly to miss it. So everything the car did here was correct, and I was in the wrong for reporting it. So if you're listening, Tesla AI team, you can ignore that snapshot. All right, we're gonna get hung out to dry here. Car did a good job of realizing that. It did hesitate, so I almost saw it coming, and you know, still was like, I'm gonna go forward and take a peek. And as soon as that car started getting out of our way and going, it realized, oh, this isn't gonna work. So, I appreciate it trying. That's probably the first time I've seen that behavior where, you know, it wasn't gonna work out. Usually, almost always it works out. So I would much rather it do that behavior and then do what it did there than not at all, just because it does cut down on our trip time, and it is what good human drivers do as well. That was almost an accident right there. I don't know if you saw that there, but that Nissan Ariya there just cut that truck off, and that truck is now not happy. I don't know if he had a train horn on that truck or not, but it definitely sounded like an air horn. All right, we're going to have a short window here, but it's going to have to commit. Great job there. Did not hesitate at all. That was great behavior. All right, and here is Selby Avenue. And now the parking fun begins. So we got a few more blocks here, and then that's when we're going to start looking for parking spots. Hopefully it starts looking maybe a little sooner, because I have no problem walking. It's kind of what you have to do sometimes. All right, so we're getting close to the restaurant here. I'm hoping there's some parking spots here on the right. Yeah, and it's going to maybe put us in a no parking zone here, which it did. So you can see the signs there, and this is just where the context is going to be needed in the future. So I'm going to let it park, but I'm going to go find parking manually. So anyways, thanks for watching this portion of the drive. I will see you on the next one. All right, so in this drive here, it's going to be a lot of city driving for the first portion, maybe the first, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes in St. Paul, and then it's going to be all highway after that. And then afterwards, we are going to be getting a new camera to replace this GoPro, which has just caused me a ton of grief. Appreciate all the comments I got online about the DJI Osmo Action Pro. That's the one I've been set on for a while, and I'm finally splurging today and getting it because this thing is just so unreliable. I had it shut off me numerous times, usually when the car is about to do something, I don't know, exciting or interesting, and it's just really frustrating. So that was a good test right there of that. Typically where we would see the brake pumping issue, it did hesitate just a little bit, but I did not get the pumping, like where would you see it, you'd go, it would hit the brake, it would go again, hit the brake, and then go. Didn't see that back there. It was just a brief hesitation, and then it went. So that's one example, hopefully proving that this issue is at least fixed in this build, but I'm sure we'll have more of those scenarios here over the course of the rest of this trip. All right, so we were clear on our left, and the car just hesitated a bit, and we had to wait for that truck there. And we had another window there. We didn't take it, so it's 2 times we've had to wait now. Should have a window after this car here, and it should commit and go. Otherwise, we're going to be waiting here a bit. So, one observation, I don't know what other people's experiences are, but one thing I've noticed with version 14 is when we're making like right turns like that, waiting for traffic, version 13 just seemed a bit more confident in that behavior. So again, it seems to be like, I don't know if they've changed something with how speed is monitored of surrounding vehicles with the pillar cameras, but it always seems to be, our issues seem to be related to seeing traffic from the sides. I don't know if I'm going, barking up the wrong tree there, but it seems to be too coincidental. So I have to keep an eye on that. But, the brake pumping issue, if they at least solved that, that would be a huge step. Good job there, quickly reacting and going. Otherwise, we might have missed that light cycle there. So that was good assertive driving, but again, very, very safe and responsive. Here's a good example here. I know we're probably following a, surrounding traffic, but you can see we're even going faster. Right now we're doing about 14 miles per hour over the speed limit right now in standard. So to me, this is too much, right? I'll keep an eye out for cops, but this is one of those situations. And now we're up to 70, so we're 15 over the speed limit here in standard. I think that's just too high for this profile. I think standard still has to be law-abiding, and this is just too much. Now, it does turn into a 60-mile-per-hour zone up ahead at some point, but yeah, this is where I've seen FSD speed a lot. It's on this stretch of I-94 here, just west of downtown St. Paul. Yeah, and, traffic up ahead seems to be going a similar speed. People do speed on this a lot, but there's no harm in going, 9 over. We're still going with the flow of traffic and not putting ourselves at risk for tickets. So I really hope that behavior is adjusted in 14.2, just because I've tried chill, and chill exhibits some of the same behavior on the stretch of road as well. So it could just be the way the road's laid out and it thinks it can go faster, but it seems to be a problem across speed profiles. And, I obviously don't want to just go the speed limit either. I want it to be some offset. But this is probably the one area where I've it does bug me a little bit that we don't have the ability to manually adjust the max speed, because this is a section where it's definitely speeding. So, and we're still in a 55 mile per hour zone, as you can see that sign on the right, and we're doing 68 miles an hour. So, a little bit of a lead foot for this area here. So. We're in a 55 mile per hour zone. I do think it goes to 60 up here, but even then it still applies. We're doing 72 right now, and yeah, a lot of traffic is going faster, but if a cop really wanted to, which a lot do around here, the car does need to slow down a little bit, right? They usually hang out on the right with their lasers, and they'll nail you for doing anything over 9 over. So as we get close to that sign there, and I think it's more because this car in front of us is slowing down, and yeah, the car's getting over now to get out of its way. But yeah, and it's going right back up to about 70 miles an hour. So 69 right now, and a 60 is perfect. And guess what's right there too? There's a cop right to the right of us here, a state trooper, just like I said. So he's not paying attention right now. He's checking something else. But this is why you have to slow down in this area like this. You can't be over 9 over, or those state troopers nail you every single time. So that needs to get fixed, I would say, as a priority before 14.2 drops. The speed profiles need to be brought down a bit. Because a lot of us, want to pass slower traffic, but we don't want the car doing over 9 over. I think there's many of us out there that want something like that in the standard profile. And then obviously for the folks that want to go faster or want to go slower, then obviously there's chill or hurry or Mad Max or sloth, right? So, but I think the standard profile shouldn't go over 9 over, just because it will it will still be fast, but it will still, keep you in that safe zone in most areas in the U.S. at least. just for fun here, I'm going to set it to the chill profile and see how much more it slows down. So immediate slowdown there. As soon as I hit chill, it looks like it's going down, dropped about almost 8 miles an hour. And now we're doing 62. So you see the difference here? It's, almost an 8 to 10 mile an hour difference. And it's too much, right? That's where I think the standard profile needs to be brought down. Because I've seen chill do over 10 over. I've also seen it do this where it's barely going above the speed limit, right? So if chill goes, 0 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, then I think standard should go 5 to 9 miles per hour over the speed limit. That's would make the most sense. But as you saw back there, the state troopers are hunting people today in terms of speeding tickets. So, I'm going to go back to standard now just to demonstrate there. There was an immediate slowdown with that switch there. And I did not see that in .3, so I don't know if that's new behavior or I just had a couple weird issues before that were just one-offs. But as soon as I went back to standard now, it sped back up. But now we're doing about 7 over. So what's funny is after we changed from chill back to standard, it's been doing 7 over in the 60 mile per hour zone ever since. And it's been laser locked on 7 over. So kind of weird behavior because up until that point when I went to chill, standard was doing over, 10 over consistently. So I'm not sure what reset. Now the car seems like it's trying to pick up a little bit here. I could be wrong, but still holding steady at 67. So I'd be fine with this behavior if this was consistent with standard, I know we're getting passed by a little bit, but we could maybe go a mile per hour more. But it seems like it's either too slow or too fast. For those who are asking too, if you use the scroll wheel, you actually switch between profiles. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there, but and what's funny is if you scroll up, just like I did there, I went to hurry and back, it actually bumped the speed of standard up by 2 miles an hour. So now we're doing 9 over. So if we bump it down to chill and then go back to standard, let's see what it does. It just holds that 69 there. So you can kind of see some of the variability that you get with these speed profiles. So, I think the more highway driving I would do, and now we're going back to, 11 over the speed limit, 12 over the speed limit now. So it's just going a little too fast, I think. All right, so we do have to get over to the right here pretty shortly here in about a mile. So interesting decision to get over to the left to pass this guy, even though, so again, like the context here, if we know we're getting off in a mile, less than a mile, do we really want to be making a lane change to the left? I'm going to report that just to call it out, but these are the sort of passing decisions that most good human drivers would avoid, because now we have to suddenly get back over to the right here in less than a half mile, and now we got to hit the brakes, right? So from a comfort perspective and just planning ahead perspective, it's not very smart in that regard. So I wish in standard, I know standard's just affecting speed, but I would love for them to factor that behavior in, because like they used to in some ways. Because it should just be trained to know, hey, when you're within a mile of your exit, you don't do stuff like that. You hang tight in that middle lane or whatever, and you wait for the fork. So on the flip side of the standard speed profile, now we're in a 70 mile per hour zone and we're only doing 2 over. And it's starting to increase a little bit, but you know, this is an area where I'd say 9 over again, right? That would make the most sense. But here we're barely above the speed limit. So again, I'm sure part of it's because of the surrounding traffic, but we're in the middle lane. There's always going to be slower vehicles in the right. You know, that's perfectly fine. But I think we can go a little faster here, and it's starting to creep the speed up a bit. But yeah, again, another example of it being not enough. Alright, so we got our blinker on, but that stretch of highway looks to be closed. So let's see. Oh, here we go. We have a detour here. Good job bailing off the freeway like that. That was awesome. Very smooth. So, just a minor detour there. Glad the car had its signal on. Couldn't tell when I was looking forward if I could. Apologies for that. My GoPro decided to stop recording again. Yeah, when I was looking ahead at the cones, I couldn't tell if there was an entrance to get off the freeway or not back there, but glad there was. All right, we're gonna have to slow down from about 50 miles an hour now to 0 here in just a little bit. Plenty of regen braking there, and we're gonna make another left turn here, or a lane change. Oh, interesting. So it bailed out of that lane change there, you know, which would have worked just fine because our right turn's not coming up for, you know, another half mile or so. I don't know if I should report that one or not. I don't know what you guys think, but the auto lane changes last night were a little goofy. The car hesitated a bunch on several of them, but those were all highway focused, and this was off highway. So just kind of write that off as a correction that it made. But yeah, lane selection, there still continues to be some fun there. I would say this is the better lane to be in. So the correction, I'm not going to say it was a bad move. It was. Just wish it would have stayed in this lane regardless versus wasting that maneuver and potentially confusing folks behind us. All right, now that we're getting close, we are going to say driveway for the parking option here. And there is a parking lot kind of near this house up here, but it's kind of a community parking lot, and usually I don't park there unless it's super busy. But we'll do the driveway option C. There's a raised driveway we'll have to raise the suspension up for as we approach it, so you'll see me do that here in like 30 seconds. While we're waiting here, I'll just comment the sunglasses didn't seem to cause any issues with the attention monitoring system there, so I never got dinged once, even though, you know, I had the sunglasses on. So seems to be working. So I'm not sure the issue Chuck hit, if that was just a anomaly in his vehicle that he had, where the system didn't fire up maybe, and that's why it was constantly nagging him or what. But haven't seen that behavior just yet in my Model S. All right, we'll make a left turn here, and while we're making this turn, I am going to get the suspension raised up here, because up ahead is quite the steep driveway. It's just one of those lips on the end that are high, so you got to kind of go over it slowly. Let's see if FSD detects it. Nice. Very nice. All right, let's see if it pulls up and parks in the driveway here. Maybe it will. Let's see. Or if it's just going to park to the left here. Oh, it's going for the driveway. All right. I'm going to probably stop it right there. Yeah, it's going to stop itself. Not the best parking job, but I got the job done. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Great job slowing down for that steep curb there. That was fantastic. So version 14 definitely has some better perception with steep curbs and driveways. I would say more so than version 13 did. It's definitely more perceptive. I did see that with the Robotaxi down in Austin, so I'm sure they've been tuning for that, going back to the version 13 days for that. So that's pretty cool to see that in a public release now as well. Alright, so we just merged onto I-94 East now. Head kind of southeast towards Minneapolis and St. Paul. Going to be making a stop at Micro Center on the way. And just while we're waiting here, I'm going to check my parking settings. It's got a set for parking lot here, which is what we want. And so now we're going to be just cruising on this road for a bit. Alright, so we're just exiting MN 169, actually US 169, onto 394, and we'll take this to Highway 100 next. So just a few little interchanges here, and then we'll be on pretty much a straight shot to Micro Center. So far the car has done a really good job. I've had no swerving as of yet. I've had no brake pumping. We have only had a little bit of city driving so far, but from what I've seen, it seems to be a noticeable improvement over 14.1.3, which is really good to see. We'll get back to St. Paul here in about an hour, or 45 minutes, and then we'll really put that to the test to make sure that's the case. But yeah, I compared to my first drive last night, things are going much better during the day here. So we'll have to see once the sun sets how it handles everything after dark, if we get similar, uncertainty and bad behavior. But yeah, during the day, this build has been rock solid so far. Alright, and we now are exiting I-394, and we're going to be getting on to 100 South, and about 3 miles away from Micro Center now. Good job fitting in between those cars there and getting over and not missing our exit there. Well, that is the type of assertive behavior that you need to exhibit in this stretch of road over here. The interchanges are pretty poorly designed. I don't know if you can see on the map here, but the interchanges are very tight. You got to really get over quick. All right, and we are going to exit Highway 100 now, and then we should be pretty much at Micro Center. So once we park at Micro Center, I'm going to run in and get some stuff here, and then we'll head over to the Supercharger right across the highway, charge for a little bit there, and then head back to St. Paul, and hopefully get some more testing in of some city streets to see if that brake pumping behavior is still there. Keep our fingers crossed here that we don't see any sign of that. Nice and smooth here with the deceleration again. That's been a strength of version 14. I don't think my mechanical brakes have been used more than a few times since I got the first 14 build here a few days ago. It's actually been going on a week now, almost now. All right, so we got to find a parking spot now. I have selected the parking lot option. So the car wants to, looks like, swing around the backside here and then come around the other way. Let's see what it does. Good job not going in the wrong way there. Got a tight curb spot here, but the car does a great job with line selection there. And let's just find a parking spot. Plenty of options here. Hopefully it picks this one on the left here. Okay, that will work. Awesome, pretty straightforward. I'll see you guys in a little bit for the rest of the drive. All right, now we're gonna head over to the Supercharger right across the freeway here. Not too far of a hike over there. We'll just hit this up here. I'll go out on the left here. So I did move my parking spot. I did reposition the car. So I'm not really gonna blame it here for going out the wrong way. This pretty quiet parking lot. Somebody came up next to me that looked like they were gonna door ding my car, so I figured it was better just to move it proactively. Nice behavior there. I was kind of wondering if it was going to come to a complete stop, but there's no stop sign there. So glad we just continue to carry speed and smoothly traverse that corner. Good behavior there. That would have been another case where I would have maybe seen in the past some of that brake pumping behavior, but there were zero hesitations. As soon as that light changed while we were rolling up to that light, the car went. More good behavior there. Car inched up, waited. It looked like that truck, it wanted to maybe go in front of it, but it cut itself off right away, so it was not jerky when it decided to wait. So that's awesome. Yeah, compared to my first drive last night, today has been way better. It's been way smoother today than I think many of my drives with Dot 3 have been. And as you can see here, the parking setting is already automatically selected charger, so no intervention can be required there to change that. Now it's pretty busy usually. I think we kind of came out at an off hour, so let's see, it should know exactly what spot is open. There's an end spot here. Looks like it's going to come in between two cars. It's a V3, so it shouldn't matter. I think it's going to have to straighten itself out there. Yeah. I would have picked the end spot, but not the end of the world. As long as it parks correct here, we're good. All right. I think that was fairly good, especially the end result. So I'm going to charge here for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll get back to St. Paul. All right, we're going to start our trip home here. Got about a 25-minute journey. So we're going to start out here from the Supercharger here in St. Louis Park and then make our way out of this parking lot. Clear on our left. Got a car turning into our right here, so we're going to have to scoot out, and no issues there. It's pretty cool just having the car park itself at Superchargers now. Like, even if it takes a little bit extra, I know a lot of people struggle with parking, so I really hope more people use this feature once they get version 14, just because it's going to make, you know, getting in and out of Superchargers that much easier for everybody else. Because I've seen some really bad park jobs that cause other problems for, you know, charger stall access and things like that. So we're going to make a navigation change here. I'm going to have it navigate to my gym, and then we're going to navigate home from there. So we're actually probably going to do a loop. Unless we have it just go up. Let's see. Yeah. We'll let it take its detour here. And the reason why I wanted to reroute, actually, after thinking about it, I want to see how the car does with more of those four-way stop intersections with the stop signs, because that's where we saw the brake stabbing behavior quite a bit with version 14.1.3. Pretty aggressive mechanical brake input there to slow the car down. We have cars queuing up here to get off of Highway 100 onto 394. That was the first real significant mechanical brake input that I've experienced in version 14 so far. if this is version 13, that would happen all the time. So like, it's still a huge performance improvement with this build. But just wanted to call it out nonetheless. I figured there was traffic up here, but it looks like somebody just doesn't know how to drive and jammed everybody else up. Probably merging or something like that, I bet. So this is a common problem in this stretch of road here. I'm going to keep reporting it, but on I-94 here, the car will always do that. It's been that way for multiple FSD builds, probably all the way back to Navigate and Autopilot when that was a thing, but it likes to use that space, that merging lane, and thinks it's like its own lane, which it's not. So I don't mind when there's a huge line and the car is trying to kind of get ahead and merge in and zipper merge, but like we saw back there was nobody really in front of us, so we got to stay in the correct lane. So it's kind of frustrating when that stuff happens, because I think that's probably just bad map data, which is why we've seen it across numerous FSD builds and Navigate and Autopilot. But there's a lot of those areas around the Twin Cities, and man, I would love to just sit down with somebody at Tesla and go through all those problem spots, because there's many more I've been trying to report. And some of them gotten fixed. I really appreciate the help, but there definitely needs to be a better feedback loop for fixing those, or there needs to be a way to, like, get some ADAS drivers to rectify some of those things, because they just prevent behavior like that. So, all right, and this is where I had the same behavior I recorded on my first impressions drive. I didn't have my GoPro running, but you can see what the car is doing here. It's keeping the turn signal on. This is exactly what it did last night. It keeps the turn signal on as if it wants to make a lane change, which is super confusing, but there's a solid white line, so then it says, oh, I can't, but it doesn't actually turn the signal off. And it's trying again here. Now it's just going to go across the white line. So it's like a rule that it kind of follows, but it doesn't, which is goofy. But yeah, I am going to report that as well, just because, it's not a safety thing. It's just more of an annoyance, right? If we have somebody behind us and we have our blinker on, and we just keep it on like that, people are going to think, did we leave it on an accident? Do we actually have intent to move over and use that lane? Like, what's going on? So I think the way the law is written, you can't cross those white lines. If somebody says otherwise, feel free to reply in the comments. But my understanding is you can't cross those. You shouldn't cross those. So what we did wasn't actually correct, but people do it all the time, so it's not the end all be all, which is why I reported it though, because I think that behavior needs some further look, another look at it. But yeah, anyways, I'm glad it was consistent with what we saw last night though. So thankfully the tunnel, it's dark in there all the time, so regardless of time of day, it looks the same in the tunnel. So all right, so here's the fun part now. So you can see our navigation now thinks we just missed that exit. So I don't know if it was already planning on using a different exit already, but it made no attempt to use that exit to get on I-35. So now the car is basically saying, I'm going to go a different route now. And this is going to be fun, because if it's like I think it is, this stretch of road up here is going to be actually closed. So we're going to actually have to take a detour, much like we did in the video I posted last night. And last night, the navigation in the car showed that it was open, but FSD just ignored that and went a different way the whole way. Like, it knew something that the navigation system did not, which I'm not sure why they're not showing it if that's the case, because they both should sync up. Like, they both, so, especially since we're controlling the navigation right now, we should at least have an idea where it wants to go next, All right, and you can see that sign right there. It says 94 East closed, Highway 280 to 35E detour. So we have to take that detour to avoid that closed space up here. And once we cross the river here in about a minute or so, you'll see on the right-hand side there are lane closure signs that tell you to get over to the left. And there's your first indication there, that orange sign. But you'll start seeing some more signage basically in like about a minute here. All right, and there's your electronic, arrow sign there that says get over. So pretty soon you'll see this right lane where the Mustang is in. That lane's going to end here shortly, so we're going to have to either get in front of him or something. All right, and there's your other signage right there. It shows that lane being closed down. Alright, so again, you can see the navigation here. This route is not available. But FSD doesn't seem to care. It seems to have a different idea and a different plan. So at some point, it's going to have to get over to the left here and merge in with this lane, I believe. Alright, there's our signal there. So we should be able to get in and make this work. If it's going to be patient enough. Perfect. Well, that worked out nicely. So, just like last night, the car followed a similar trajectory and path, and it, didn't try to keep moving to the right to use the area where the cones are and find a way to get on 94. It knew 94 was closed somehow, even though the navigation system didn't show it. So, again, the end result's what we want. I'm just very curious in why the discrepancy. So, if anybody knows or can speak more to that, I would definitely be interested in hearing what that story is. compared to what I experienced with Dot 3, this is a noticeable improvement in daytime, but I don't want to get too excited because I know we may not have experienced some of the potential regressions or issues yet, so that's why I'm going into St. Paul to see if we can find some four-way stops. Okay, that's a good scenario right there to call out. So we had traffic approaching from both sides there, and that's again where the brake pumping issue I've seen before, that's where it would crop up. So I had felt no such, input on the brakes or throttle there that would indicate that issue was occurring. So that's exactly what we want to see. So it's starting to look like this issue is for sure fixed, but we'll have a few more intersections up here that we can kind of rule it out with. And then I'll be going on some of those routes tomorrow as well. Alright, vehicle on our left here, he's turning. Right looks clear as well. A little hesitation there, but it was a roll, and a car coasted there, so it didn't jam on the brakes. So unlike Dot 3 would have hit the brakes a few times there for sure. So that was much better. And again, good behavior carrying through that yellow light there and completing the turn. Yeah, I mean, this seems like a substantial upgrade from what we saw with the Dot 3 so far, especially in the city. It's way smoother. Great behavior there. I think that car in front of us was still moving a little bit, even though he was supposed to be fully stopped. The car didn't flinch one bit and knew that it got there first and proceeded to make that left turn like it should have. So again, another good test for that brake pumping behavior, and no sign of it. Alright, now that we're on this road, we're just going to end the navigation there, and then we'll navigate home. And I'm going to go down to St. Clair, actually, if I can get it to select. There we go. And then parking options. At home, I am going to pick the driveway parking option again. So I will try opening my garage door and see if the car will park in there. Last time I tried this last night, it did not work. So it got about a couple feet in, just like it did before, and then kind of gave up. So not sure if the entrance, it thinks it's too tight, but obviously when I park in there, I park there just fine. So. All right, and here's our exit on St. Clair Avenue. This intersection can be kind of tricky sometimes, just because the visibility coming off 8 Mill Road is not the best. So you usually have a good amount of occlusions to your left and right, especially when you have two cars turning here on the same off ramp like we do here. He's going to want to pull forward so he can see to his right, and I'm going to want to pull forward to see to my left. Alright, we should have a window here after this car. Again, very confident, good behavior, no issues there. Going back to like FSD 11, it used to be hit or miss if it would put you into busy traffic and put you in front of them, where you'd have to all of a sudden accelerate super fast to kind of fix the mistake, right? It's funny just thinking back though how far the software has come, right? In situations like I never felt unsafe, but it was like, man, that was just kind of rude. You know, its manners weren't very good, right? And I know that they were trying to get there, but now it's like this thing lets people in when they cut in front of you and things like that, and it leaves space for people when they're coming out of a driveway. So yeah, it's just come a long way, and it's really nice to see those sort of, you know, good human driver elements make its way into the software. So you can kind of see the car anticipate when it saw that signal that this guy was turning. So it was already kind of looking towards the right there, like it was going to go around him. And there was not an ounce of hesitation. It knew what it was doing there, and it was going for it. So again, great behavior there, like a good human driver would do. Otherwise, you're going to sit at that stop at that intersection for a bit longer than you would have to otherwise. And again, we have a couple turning vehicles up here, and right away the car proceeds forward. Very, very confident. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, everything I've experienced today, you know, the speed profile, some of the stuff has been lingering, right, since the first 14 builds, and I don't think we'll see any major changes until the next major release, but I've just a lot of great things to say about this build compared to .3 so far. I do want to do some more testing at night to see if there's better performance during the day, if there's still issues there, because, you know, based on our drive last night. But man, so far this has just been super smooth. Reminds me a lot of the last 13 build I was on, which is 13.2.9, right? I mean, but better, like way more intelligent, way faster reaction times to things. This has been fantastic today, and this, like I said, I'm going on several hours now of driving with this build today, all over the you know, North Metro, and we went down towards the South Metro. Like, we've been everywhere. And you can kind of see how the car is lining up here. It's almost anticipating the guy's going to turn, and when it doesn't, it kind of gets itself an out, and then as soon as it realizes that guy is not turning, it goes back to the left. So all right, and I think this is the intersection up here. If it's not this one, it's the next one. Yeah, this is the one here. This is the intersection of St. Clair and Pryor. And when cars approach from the sides, and even sometimes where they haven't been, the car will do the brake pumping here when it comes off from a dead stop. No sign of it there either. So we'll check again tomorrow when it's busier, probably later in the day. But yeah, so far that brake pumping behavior seems to be fixed in this build. So, you know, like I said earlier, if they just fixed that one issue and everything else stayed the same, it would be a positive step forward. And so far, it definitely seems to be the case. So very, very happy with that. All right, so my garage door should be open. Let's see what FSD's got in store for us today. All right, so here is our left turn into my driveway. Now let's see if it goes for the garage, and it looks like it's going to miss the garage there. So we are going to swing around and back up manually here. So I would consider that park attempt a fail, even though we had the driveway option selected. So still seems to be hit or miss, depending on, you know, what direction we come in from, the lighting and so forth. So more work needs to be done there. I know my garage setup is not the most conventional. We got 2 smaller garage doors, too, the openings being a little tighter, but as you can see, there's plenty of room on both sides here as we back up. So anyways, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, so far, I'm really, really happy with this build. My first impressions drive wasn't the greatest, and I, again, wanted to reserve my full judgment until I was able to do a bunch of driving during the day today. And yeah, everything looks really, really good so far with this build. So we'll do another drive tonight, record basically that same route that we did last night with the GoPro or my new DJI camera running, and hopefully we'll go through that tunnel again and see if we can get some similar weird behaviors to show up like we did last night, or maybe they fixed them, who knows. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.